With us now is Ambassador John Bolton, who has served in top foreign policy positions in every Republican administration, going back to Ronald Reagan, most recently as National Security Advisor to Donald Trump. Ambassador, Israel appears to be looking for total victory against Iran's proxies in the region. Is that realistic, and what would that really look like?
Well, I think Israel has gone a long way towards systematically destroying Hamas's military capabilities. They certainly haven't finished yet. The fortress that Hamas built under Gaza is still not completely secure. Hostages have not been released entirely, and obviously Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas commander, still at large, but they're well on the way to dismantling Hamas and doing a pretty good job against Hezbollah as well. This would be a very significant shift in the Middle East geostrategically if the two pillars of Iran's terrorist proxy groups are eliminated or severely degraded. That would significantly reduce Iran's presence across the region. Still have the Houthis, still have Shia militia groups in Iraq and Syria, still have extremists on the West Bank, and obviously still have Iran. But I think 1 year in, perhaps people don't appreciate enough how much damage Israel has done to Iran's capabilities.
So let's say Israel is successful and we do avoid an all-out war with Iran. Are we still left with the same power vacuum problem in those disputed territories and a cycle of terror and reprisal and terror and reprisal?
Well, you know, people keep saying you can't, this is an ideology, you can't eliminate it. I don't know. We did pretty well against Nazism in Germany after World War II. I don't see any imperialist militarist on the scene in Japan today. I think what the people of Gaza and the people of Lebanon in particular want is the freedom to go back and try and find a stable form of government without these terrorists operating at Iran's beck and call. The big issue, obviously, right now is what the Netanyahu cabinet will decide in retaliating against Iran for its missile attack on October the 1st. And just to put that ballistic missile attack in context, that was the largest ballistic missile attack in human history. And Iran still has likely thousands of ballistic missiles left. So Hezbollah is a huge threat because of its enormous ballistic missile arsenal. Iran is a threat for the same reason and its effort to get nuclear weapons.
So here's what President Biden had to say on Friday about that potential response from Israel.
The Israelis have not concluded what they're going to do in terms of a strike. That's under discussion. I think if I were in their shoes, I'd be thinking about other alternatives than striking oil fields.
Talking about the oil fields there, is it understandable that Israel's allies would not like to see global petroleum prices skyrocket? Is the president making a mistake there by trying to direct Israel away from those targets?
Well, at first when I heard that, and also the comment where Biden said Israel should not go after Iran's nuclear weapons program, my first reaction was it was just incompetence. Or maybe it was mental capacity or lack thereof. But I think it's pretty clear because of a number of things he said, including one day last week saying, well, the Israeli attack won't occur tonight. I think he's trying to pressure Israel. I think he's trying to put them in a box. I think all he cares about is avoiding this becoming a bigger issue than it already is before November the 5th. I think petroleum prices are one aspect of it. You know, when you're Israel, in a situation like they live in a tough neighborhood, they can't really calibrate what they're going to do to suit Joe Biden's electoral concerns. They'll make up their minds in Jerusalem when they think they're ready and they reach agreement inside the cabinet. But, you know, I just think it's wrong for an American president to speak publicly about what an American ally might do to an American enemy. We sure wouldn't appreciate it if our quote-unquote allies were doing that to us.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.